in the heart of Beer City, USA. Two men, one journey to create a sports show unlike any other. Unfiltered, raw, and honest. One of them played a soccer goalie opposite Ben Stiller. The other once scored 6 points on Steph Curry. These guys know their shit.
Let's go!
Tank Spencer, Jeremy Greene, The Sportsocracy. Presented by Ingles Supermarkets. Low prices, love the savings.
And welcome into the Sportsocracy here on ESPN Asheville. We are live in the Ingles studio. I'm Tank Spencer. Jeremy Greene is alongside, and the week has finally arrived. Today is opening day of the festivities of the Super Bowl, Super Bowl 56 in Los Angeles. Again, it feels weird to say it, but the Cincinnati Bengals are in the Super Bowl taking on the Los Angeles Rams.
When you said this is the start of what we've all been waiting for, I felt very sure you were talking about Draftmas.
Draftmas, I know.
Draftmas is officially here.
I know.
Okay?
Draftmas kicked off over the weekend for Jeremy. The Senior Bowl was in the books. It was a fun time on Saturday with Jeremy and David Smith of Armchair Commentary live reacting to the Super Bowl, or the Senior Bowl as it played out down in Mobile. Coming up in the second hour, we'll get Jeremy's winners and losers of the Senior Bowl week and the game itself. We will begin our matchup by matchup breakdown of the Super Bowl. We'll do Rams offense against the Bengals defense coming up at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. And we've got all of the coaching news to cover as well. Don't forget, you're going to want to hang around today for the happy hour, the third uncensored hour of the Sportsocracy, only available on the YouTube channel. Go to thesportsocracy.com, click on the live video link. You can subscribe to the channel there, and you can join the House of Reprehensibles as well after you subscribe. Your subscription gets you into the chat box, and today it is a Musicocracy Monday, and we are going to reveal the bracket that everyone has been waiting for. The most overrated bands of all time.
If you want a reason to be Tank Spencer, old man yelling at clouds, I'm going to give you every reason to. Tank seeded this. I just took the social media interactions and said, these are the 64 bands that we were told by you, our lovely listeners, are overrated.
Yep.
And here we are. Yep. I have shown the bracket to a couple people, and I'm not going to lie, it's been pretty consistent. Every bracket has somebody that you're angry at.
Oh, yeah. The number one theme in the most overrated bands is controversy.
Well, the number one theme is that to be overrated, you have to be highly thought of in the first place.
True.
So I'm sure people are going to say the bracket and go, well, Creed is not nearly high enough. Because you all hate them. The only reason they're in the bracket is because I love them.
I got a sneak peek preview for you. They're a dark sleeper.
Yeah, they're probably going to get further than they should, which is just going to serve to make me angry.
Oh, absolutely. So we will discuss that coming up in the third hour of the program today, again, only on the YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go to thesportsocracy.com.
In the chat, we have already started a fun discourse of what is more fun than the Pro Bowl? So far, watching paint dry is the leader in the clubhouse.
I was going to say, getting your fingernails ripped out with pliers, maybe? We had our sales manager, Gene, came by earlier. He goes, I turned on the Pro Bowl for 5 minutes yesterday, and since when do they not tackle in the Pro Bowl? 5 years ago.
Oh, don't worry. That's the I'm mad for today.
Yes.
Because I'm not particularly thrilled with the Pro Bowl.
Yes. Anyway, it was a big weekend. You got a lot of things going on. I've had fun watching the Winter Olympics. I know Jeremy doesn't care at all.
What are these
about individual achievements in sports?
What are these Olympics things that you're referring to?
Caught some of the Clash yesterday at the Coliseum. That was fun.
That was fantastic.
That was fun. I mean, that looked like all you had to do was just turn the wheel left and just keep on a-going.
Yeah, here's the thing. Baseball, you could learn a thing or two from NASCAR because they're figuring out quite quickly. You can't just keep doing the same thing, lather, rinse, repeat, and expect people to keep consuming it.
Right.
So we don't talk a lot of NASCAR on this show. I got to give NASCAR its flowers here. That was good.
It was good. It was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, my guy Kyle Busch couldn't come up with the win. Joey Logano gets him in the end.
I love that Kyle Busch got booed in a stadium that I am reasonably convinced was full of people who did not know who he was.
Oh, really?
That's the guy we're supposed to boo. I read it online. Boo him. Boo. Boo you.
Everybody hates Kyle Busch, and that's one of the reasons that I love him. I love the bad guy, and he plays it to a T. And I absolutely loved his response afterwards. Apparently, we just can't win a damn race. We finished second. I think that was like the 8th time in the last year that he's finished second place in a race. And he is very, very upset about that. But I felt like this weekend was a great success. Senior Bowl was fun. The ancillary sports were fun as well. We got another big one coming up this weekend, obviously, with the Super Bowl. And you got Israel Adesanya fighting on the main card of the next UFC pay-per-view. It's going to be a lot of fun. And, of course, we'll have all the ins and outs and in-betweens here in the Sportsocracy.
And this week, every NFL team, 7-round mock draft. Because you know what Jeremy did yesterday? 7 hours of commercial-free mock drafting.
I'm going to call BS on that one. It took you way longer than 7 hours to do that.
It did. It took me so yesterday I did one of those things that I don't do often, which is sleep.
Nice.
Until 1:30 in the afternoon. As someone that never sleeps, you wake up from a sleep like that in a complete haze. You don't know if the world has ended outside your door. You just know the sun is coming through the window at a weird angle.
Right.
You don't really know where you are. And it literally took the rest of the day.
Yep.
But we have every NFL team's mock draft, and I'm going to be honest with you. Tank's seen them all.
Yep.
There's not many of you that are going to have much reason to be upset.
No, which is, I think it's always a great exercise for us to go through because I honestly believe that Jeremy is super objective in this. Like, when he ends up giving the New England Patriots players that he's going to hate for the next 10 years, you know that he's looking at it in an objective way and getting them the things that they absolutely need.
I'll be really honest with you. Objectively grading what I did, every team got at least a B+. And 2 of the 4 A+ were in my own division, and neither of them were my team.
Unfortunately, those of you who don't have solid front offices and scouting departments, you should probably. I mean, give Jeremy a call. He'll give you some advice.
Phone number's been the same for a long time. Ain't hard to find me.
I'm trying to get him on your side, bud. I'm trying. But anyway. Of course, we got a lot to get to, but let's talk about the coaching carousel in the NFL because this news broke just a little while ago that the Houston Texans have decided who's going to be their next head coach, and it's going to be a guy who was their associate head coach this past season, and it's good old Lovie Smith back in the NFL.
I would love to have someone explain to me, why did you have to fire David Culley for this? Lovie Smith's already on the staff.
Yep.
Why? Why did you do this?
Because you just wanted to waste money.
And I'm going to be really honest with you. You made yourself look terrible in this because none of the high-level candidates would interview with you. People ask us all the time, why do we talk so much about coaching things? This is why. The Houston Texans just gave us the perfect example of why we talk about these things so much. I want you to really digest what I'm getting ready to say.
Okay.
2 years ago, 24 months ago, this was a team coming off an appearance in the AFC Championship game that they were leading in by a considerable amount. 2 years later, they're the biggest joke in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Without a doubt. And it's not even close. If it wasn't for Jacksonville, they would have lapped the field 5 or 6 times.
And I would like to use you did have one of the biggest scandals of, for an athlete of all time, but
that's not what started this.
No, you were 4-12 with him.
That's not what started this. What started this was the day they looked Bill O'Brien in the face and said, yep, let's give you personnel control. They have not made a good decision since. And I could argue that hiring Lovie Smith is the best decision they've made.
Okay.
Now, did he have tremendous interest from other teams? No, he didn't.
Did he have any interest from other teams? Okay, all right.
He would have been somebody's defensive coordinator if they had hired Jonathan Gannon or Josh McCown. By the way, can we stop bringing in Josh McCown for interviews? This is the second time in 2 years you've done this. Oh, that's just no, you're not. It's not who you're going to hire. It was never who you were going to hire.
You don't think they're building up to that? They're building him up because I mean, is that not a thing? Is that not a thing for head coaching candidates? Like once you start getting the interviews, then you're going to get more interviews.
Well, it would be one thing if he had gotten an interview anywhere but Houston.
Right.
That's the only place. And there's a reason for that. Because now you have this reputation in NFL circles as a dysfunctional franchise. You could have saved every bit of this if you had just handled 3 things differently. Never give your head coach personnel control.
Right.
I do not care who it is. I don't care who it is. Bill Belichick, bad. Historically, it's been bad. Bill O'Brien just typhooned a franchise. So you do that, and then your decision to get away from that is Jack Easterby and Nick Caserio. I'm going to implore you, name me one thing they've done right since they took over in Houston. Anything. I don't care what it is.
I can't think of one.
Drafting Davis Mills and hiring Lovie Smith, and I'll lump Lovie Smith and David Culley into the same decision.
Right.
Now, firing David Culley, that made you look stupid. And here we are. All you did was bring in another coach that nobody else wanted to lead their franchise.
Right.
I'm not saying he's not a good coach. He is. I could argue I wouldn't want him to be my head coach, but we're picking nits at this point. But what was the purpose? So you made David Culley the scapegoat, but then you look on his own staff and go, yeah, you're the guy. Mm-hmm. What sense does that make?
None.
So you did all of these things, which I'm telling you right now, if you don't believe that coaching candidates look at what they did to David Culley and go, I'm out. I got a bridge to sell you.
Right.
You want to know why nobody would interview here? Because of exactly what you've already done.
Of course.
And so now you just kicked the can down the road. You've kicked it down the road another year. You have the 3rd pick in this draft. It's a 3-player draft.
Mm-hmm.
Hate to break this to everybody. There are 3 high-level grades in this draft. Then, of course, my Jets pick at 4. Who's shocked? Once you get past that, it's a toss-up.
Right.
So, Houston, you get one decision made for you. What else do I actually think you're doing well? Do I think Lovie Smith's going to – because Pep Hamilton's going to be the offensive coordinator. I don't know if you read that part or not.
I did.
Pep Hamilton will be the offensive coordinator.
Yes.
I could see him developing Davis Mills. But do you really think this is a long-term hire?
No.
By the time this team is good, Pep Hamilton and Lovie Smith will be on to greener pastures. So what's the point?
Especially if you have this short of a leash on the coach.
Well, and they won't with Lovie Smith. There's no way he took this job at 63 years old, knowing full well this is his last shot as a head coach.
See,
in the NFL.
that's what I want to know. I want to know what the contract looks like on this one.
Oh, I'm sure there's a buyout if he's fired after a year.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of guaranteed money because that's what you have to do.
But what was it? It was what they already set $20 million on fire or whatever it was that they still owed David Culley.
They paid him $17 million to be the head coach for 11 months.
Right.
That's what
ridiculous.
Bad franchises do.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that I have ever seen a team set themselves on fire as quickly as the Houston Texans have.
Mm-hmm.
If you had told me 2 years ago that you would go from the organization that gave Kansas City everything it could handle in the AFC Championship game to where they are now. Okay, you have a mole in your front office because you can't do that without doing it on purpose. There's no way. You cannot take a team and I understand the Deshaun Watson thing was not something you could have planned for.
Right. That's
not the only thing they did here. You traded DeAndre Hopkins for a bag of footballs. You got a 2 and David Johnson, who I think went directly from 26 to 126.
Well, that was the thing. I mean, the DeAndre Hopkins thing, that was the thing that put the final nail in the Bill O'Brien coffin.
And my question is, how do you allow this to happen? I've never in my life seen a franchise blow themselves up from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
And everything you do just stays in the same narrative. The narrative never changes. So, best case scenario. All right, you brought in Lovie Smith. What are you going to be 1 calendar year from now?
Best case scenario?
Best case scenario.
5-12.
I would say you're high. I would say you're too high.
Yeah.
You're not literally high. You're too high. Right. I forgot a word there.
I thought you were accusing me. I was like, wait a minute.
No, I don't. What you do in your personal time, it's on you.
My question is, can Lovie Smith still be an effective head coach in this league, or has he just been a victim of circumstance in his last couple of stops? I mean, remember he was with Chicago and he took them to a Super Bowl. They didn't win the Super Bowl because he had Rex Grossman as his quarterback. And then after he went on a string of, it was like one playoff appearance in 7 years with the Chicago Bears, he gets fired. Then he comes to Tampa, spends 2 years. His quarterbacks were Josh McCown and the rookie year of Jameis Winston, which wasn't horrible, but still. He didn't do anything to turn those teams around, and then he goes to college, and he was horrible there as well.
Here's what's unsettling to me. How many years as a head coach has Lovie Smith had a top half of the league offense?
Top half of the league offense. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say once.
You would be correct.
Okay.
They were literally tied for 17th one other time. How many times have they been top 10 in defense? As a matter of fact, I'll go a step further than that. How many times have they been top half of the league in defense?
I'm going to say it's got to be more than that, but not by much. I'll go 2.
It's 4.
Okay.
In 10 years, he's been a top half of the league defensive mind 4 times. So what is the purpose? You already had this guy on your staff. If you think he's the guy to mold your defense, I get it. That's not a long-term solution. No free agent is going to look at this and go, yeah, I want to be there.
Yeah.
No rookie. Kayvon Thibodeau, who, by the way, that's who I have them taking in the draft because he's the player that falls in their lap. Mm-hmm. He's not going to look at this and go, oh, yeah, I'm excited to be in Houston. This is going to be tremendous. I can't wait to learn from Lovie Smith and then him get fired 24 months from now.
Right.
I just don't get the point. Even if you, say you'd hired Jonathan Gannon or Todd Bowles or Brian Flores or any of these other guys, I at least look at them and go, they're young enough that maybe you can steer this ship in the right direction, and 2 to 3 years from now, you're headed in the right direction. Even if Lovie Smith gets this right, let's say he was the perfect hire. He's 64 years old. Mm-hmm. How long do you think he's going to be here? So you all of these things that you said about David Culley, they all apply to Lovie Smith too. So what was the point? So now you've just gotten here and you're in the exact same shape you were 1 year ago. Mm-hmm. How do you convince the fan base to keep spending their money on this?
I can't answer that. I mean,
that's the thing I can't for the life of me understand.
Well, they didn't have an answer for that question before Deshaun Watson showed up. And then Deshaun shows up.
Deshaun Watson was enough to get you to pay your shekels.
Right.
Because he was a good enough quarterback. Well, that got taken from you. No matter what happens with that, one way or the other, the next snap he plays in the NFL will not be with you. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that happened, and Houston just went full 4-year-old that piddled their pants on the playground and just sat down in it and went, I don't know what to do now. I need a lollipop and a hug. And that's what you've done now for 3 years.
And I sat in my pee pants for 3 years.
I don't get it. I've never seen anything like it.
I don't either. Look, I love Lovie Smith as a Tampa Bay guy. He was a defensive coordinator there for a while under Tony Dungy, and then takes a team to a Super Bowl. He's such a great story, and then everything just fell off the world for him.
He's a wonderful human. Mm-hmm. The only problem is that he got this job at the expense of another wonderful human.
Yeah.
It would be one thing if David Culley was a jerk. Have you ever heard one cross word about him?
No.
And
the one thing we heard throughout the season was, look how hard these guys are playing for him when they all know that the situation is a dumpster fire. And he won you'll never be able to take that away from him. He had a much worse team because he didn't have the quarterback, and he still won as many games as they did the year before with Deshaun Watson. You'll never be able to take that away from David Culley, and unfortunately, I doubt he'll ever get a shot to do this again.
Oh, he won't,
because
and that's
of his
incredibly
age.
Unfortunate.
Right.
He had 1 year in the NFL. I would argue he had the worst roster I have ever seen. Mm-hmm. And somehow managed to only be the third worst team in the NFL that season. And now you've just lathered it up and you're going to do the exact same thing over again. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting a different result. And I have nothing against Lovie Smith. I think he's a wonderful guy.
Mm-hmm.
Know people that watched what he did at Illinois, which, by the way, is one of the toughest college football jobs in America, still managed to get in talent. Guys that he recruited, there's a handful of them that are getting ready to go in this draft.
Sure.
And this is a guy that hadn't been in college in years. I'm not faulting him as a coach. He's a fine coach. I just don't really understand how you're going to sell this. And I don't really know how you're going to fix this.
Yeah. At this point, you're just putting a team out there. It almost sounds